everybody, and welcome to the Paws4Stitches podcast. My name is Candy, and this is episode 15. I want to take a moment to welcome any new viewers who are finding the podcast for the first time. I'm so glad you found me. And of course, I want to welcome back anybody who is not new and coming back to join in the madness once again. If you are looking for me on any social media, you can find me as Paws4Stitches. Pretty much just on Instagram and Ravelry are the two places that I frequent most and have the most chatter going on. So go on over, check it out. We have in Ravelry, we have a Paws4Stitches podcast group. And I would love it for you to go ahead and join. We've got some fun things going on. We actually have quite a few things wrapping up belatedly, I will say, and some new things about to start. So it's a great time to go on over and check out the podcast group. It's filled with lots of fun and crafty and talented, amazing people. And I know I just continue to enjoy reading all of the things that everybody contribute when they comment on all the threads and whatnot. So that is that. That's where you can find me. And what I want to do, though, for a couple minutes is I hope, especially if you're new, you just will indulge me for a moment and don't mind that I feel the need to take just a little bit of time to kind of explain where the heck I've been and what has been going on with me for the last, several weeks. It's been well over a month since the last time I got a podcast episode out. So I just wanted to kind of backtrack to the beginning of December. I think I've sort of alluded to this on the podcast before, but it seems appropriate now to kind of maybe mention a little bit more because December was a pretty rough month for me. Actually, the last few months have not exactly been easy pain-wise and physically. On December 6th, it was actually the 20-year, I hate to say that you would have an anniversary of a car accident, but I don't know what else to call it. But I guess I could just say that on December 6th, it had been 20 years since I was in a pretty significant car accident in my, early 20s. So I wanted to, kind of just let everybody know what's going on because I've been having a lot of trouble with pretty significant pain in my foot. I've also been having a lot of issues with swelling, but that's not really the biggest problem that's bugging me the most. It's mostly the pain in my foot. So during the month of December, I think, especially on that December 6th, oh my gosh, it's been 20 years since all this stuff happened to me date. I don't know. I've just been in a bit of a funk and a bit of a bad place because I think I'm in one of those situations where I'm searching for answers and I'm not 100% sure there ever will be a wonderful answer that's going to cure all of these problems. But, those of you who have met me in person and, seen video footage of me walking around and doing stuff, like you really wouldn't know that there's anything tremendously wrong. But when I was in my car accident, I was actually medevaced to a trauma center in New Jersey. And initially, they actually thought they were going to have to amputate my left leg. I had two pretty significant femur fractures. I think any femur fracture is significant, but they were both compound in both legs, and I lost a tremendous amount of blood. And the left leg specifically was the one that was the biggest issue. So I have this picture actually to kind of put things in perspective for everybody. After approximately 12 surgeries, this was how I was looking. Actually, no, that's not true. A couple of the surgeries were involving removing this, but this is what they ended up doing to my leg. They actually put me in what they called back then, I don't know if they still call it the same thing, but an external fixator, where they actually have to, put the pins in there to kind of hold your bones in place while they're growing back together. So obviously this involved a lot of recovery, physical therapy. I was in the hospital for a month. I was in sort of a live-in rehab facility for several months after that. This all, by the way, leading up to, that's why I'm holding the just married sign. This happened 6 months before Jamie and I got married. So, my doctors had always told me that time down the road, I was probably going to experience some, a lot of other issues related to this, because there were just certain things that, even though they got me kind of back together, so to speak, and I've been functioning pretty well all this time, all things considered, all that, all that trauma and all that surgery and, the things that just aren't right obviously end up causing problems in other areas. So what I ended up doing last month was going back to, it was actually kind of neat to go back to the orthopedic surgeon who did all of my surgeries all that time ago. I hunted him down on the internet and I found him, and Jamie took me back. And it was, it was actually quite remarkable how much he remembered about my accident and all of the things that he tried to do to help help me save my leg, so that they did not have to remove it. So the fact that I even still have my own leg is actually all thanks to this particular doctor. So I trust him. And when I went to see him, I think I sort of hoped maybe he was going to have more answers than he did. But basically what's going on with my foot is I have this persistent, constant, it's almost like a burning and a sharp, like stabbing feeling on the bottom of my foot. What he can tell me now after doing x-rays and looking more closely at everything is that it's kind of all stemming from the fact that my ankle is truly the issue. And as a result, I have bone spurs, plantar fasciitis. I have the metatarsal pad on the bottom of my foot is worn down. Pretty much any stinky thing that you can imagine being wrong with your foot is wrong with my foot. So that's where we are. And I think in the month of December, between the stress of all that going on, not getting the answers, not knowing how to fix this problem, trying to manage the pain and how to deal with that, amidst all of the craziness around the holidays and whatnot, I think I kind of just hit the wall. And one thing you guys should know about me, if you don't already, it's that I'm not very good at pretending. I'm pretty open and honest. If I'm thinking something, you guys are going to know it. And I just didn't, I felt like if I had podcasted last month, I was so enjoying watching everybody's, Vlogmas episodes and things like that, and all of these great things going on over the holidays. And I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I had a wonderful Christmas with my family, but I felt like if I had done a podcast, I would have been, unless I would have just talked about this then, I feel like I would have been kind of putting on a show for you guys, and that it might not have been completely authentic. So I wanted to wait until my head was in a slightly better place until I got another episode out to you guys. So I hope that's okay. And, I'll keep you guys posted. In the meantime, we're just waiting on some blood results to see if they can go ahead. And there is kind of a more minor surgery they can do to try to release the plantar fascia and the tendon to kind of take some of the pressure off. I think they're going to start with that. And of course, I still have to continue to go to physical therapy and whatnot. So it is what it is. I'm thankful to be here. I think that's what I have to keep reminding myself every time I get kind of bummed out or depressed about it. You always have to remember that there are lots of people in this world who have it 20 million times worse. So I'm going to go with that for now. So then of course I get past the hump of sort of that frustration, everything going on with my foot rather. And then right after the new year, we get home from the cabin and I get hit with the biggest bout of bronchitis that I've ever had in my life. You could probably still hear it. I still am not feeling 100%. So I apologize, by the way, for my voice as well, but I am still like, things are clearing up, I think, in my chest, but now it's all in my head and and I know a lot of people are sick with something funky going around right now. And from what the doctor told me, it's one of those things, I guess the strain of whatever nonsense this is just lingering and does not want to leave you alone. So, I'm dealing with that now too. So, starting the new year even, I thought, okay, fresh start with the podcast. And then boom, I got sick. So here we are. It is January, what is it now? January 15th. And I am back. and I'm back much later than I wanted to be, but I guess later is better than never. So thank you so much for your patience and for waiting for me to return. So with that said, what I'd like to jump into, because it is far overdue, although I think I'm becoming, you know, probably pretty well known for my cows and whatnot, not always sticking true to their deadlines. But again, I have prizes to give out, and I would just as rather give them out later rather than not give them out at all, because I'm very excited about this. There actually are a few prizes to give out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what the contests and all that were all about, because they've long been over. The first contest that I never was able to give out the prizes for, since it's been so long since you've heard from me, is the I did the Rhinebeck Tic Tac photo challenge, but the Thankful photo challenge, that was the one for people who were not able to make it to Rhinebeck, but I wanted to give people a chance to win some prizes as well. So let me tell you real quick the winners of the prizes for that. The first prize was a skein of the Dragonfly Rhinebeck inspired colorway called the Headless Horseman, which looks like that. Beautiful. And that is going to, it was random number generator number 11 came up for that one. And that was Jen Knitting Around. Jen is from Ohio. And you know what, Jen? You may be a CBJ, Columbus Blue Jackets fan, but I am still super excited. I know you're a hockey enthusiast like Jamie and myself. So I can't wait to be able to send this prize your way. So if you get this, if you hear this, please PM me your address and I will get that out in the mail to you. The second prize for the Thankful Photo Challenge was a set of the Jenny the Potter stitch markers that I still have tucked away in the bag here. I think I've showed these a couple times already, but I'll show them again. They look like that. And these are going to the ever so animated and lovely Sarah, who is Sheps3. Sarah is also the host of the Dabbling Shepherdess podcast, and she is all the way in Utah. So Sarah, I'm super excited to pop these stitch markers in an envelope and send them your way. I think I might still have your address from the swap we did together, but do me a favor, send it to me just in case, because it might be easier than me trying to find it amidst all of my stuff. And then last but not least, the third prize is not a mail to you prize, but I had also promised a sweater pattern of choice to a third winner, and that winner is Aunt Val, who is Val from Pennsylvania. She was random number generator number 6. So Val, if you could let me know a sweater pattern of your choice, and let's be honest, if you're not interested in knitting a sweater, I'm not going to force you to knit a sweater. So we can even just say it's any pattern of your choice. And I will gift that to you via Ravelry. So thank you so much for those of you who put their pictures up for the Thankful Photo Challenge. That was a ton of fun. I've got a lot of time to think about it, but it's definitely something I would consider doing again next year as we get closer to Rhinebeck. So stay tuned, more about that in a few months. All right, the other prizes that I needed to give out were the final 2 Jar Along prizes. If you remember in episode 14, I said that I was going to combine the November and December threads, and at the end of December, I was going to pick 2 winners, one for the November prize, one for the December prize. So that is exactly what I did, and I do have 2 winners for that as well. Just as a quick reminder, the November prize, I'm not going to take it out of the bag, but one of the prizes was this really sweet Notions pouch from Roberta of Steel City Stitcher. So that's one thing, and then because it just matched so beautifully, we also have a skein of yarn. This is actually Spirited Fibers in there. I think it's the Autumn Leaves. Let me check. Yep, the Autumn Leaves colorway. Again, I thought those 2 prizes seemed perfect for November. And the winner of that prize was random number generator number 30 was selected for that. And that was Diane Laces. Diane is from Illinois. So Diane, if I'm not mistaken, I think Diane definitely deserved for her number to be chosen because I want to say she posted 9 jars. So awesome job, Diane. I hope everybody that you gifted those to loved them for Christmas because they came out beautiful. And then last but not least, we have a December prize, and I'm excited because since I haven't seen you guys in a while, I never had the chance to actually tell you what the December prize was going to be, but I certainly don't want to hold off on giving it away any longer. So this is going to be kind of like a surprise because the person who is winning this prize doesn't even know what the prize is. But a while back, Lynn of the Sunshine and Bubblegum podcast, hey Lynn, I have just enjoyed so much getting to know Lynn. She has been like my sort of crochet guru, so to speak. She's been so amazing as I've been experimenting with crochet. She's been, I've been asking her some questions and picking her brain, and she's given me great ideas of tutorials I can look at, patterns to try. One time she actually even videoed herself doing something that I was asking a question about and just sent it to me. So I can't say enough wonderful things about Lynn. And if you haven't watched her podcast yet, again, it's the Sunshine and Bubblegum podcast. Please go check Lynn out. She's a sweetheart. But more than just being a sweetheart, she also makes amazing project bags. And she had offered to make me, she said she wanted to hunt down like the perfect fabric for me to give away as a Paws4Stitches prize for the month of December for the jar along. And I knew, I had no idea what she was going to find until she sent it to me, or until she even sent me a picture of the fabric, and I couldn't believe it. Check out that fabric. Okay. Not only Addie and Clarence are obviously on there, but they have friends as well. This is obviously a drawstring bag. Really adorable, perfect size for socks. And I really do think that this bag is incredibly well made. The other thing I wanted to show you too, you can't feel it, but the inside of this bag, she lined it with a perfectly matching flannel. So even the inside of the bag is super duper soft. So I know Lynn does have an Etsy shop, so I would strongly encourage you to go on over and check that out, and see what you can do about that, because this is just an absolutely lovely bag, and I'm so excited to send it to our December jar along winner. And without any further ado, since we're already 17 minutes into this podcast, I have no idea how that happens. Maybe it's because I spend 10 minutes talking about my leg. I have no idea. But anyway, the winner of the wonderful bag from Sunshine and Bubblegum was random number generator 18, and that was Miss Cozy Couch, which is Cindy from Colorado. So Cindy, I hope you're going to be okay with this bag. I remember Cindy once, I think, commented or told me at some point, I believe she is a dog lover, but unfortunately all of her dogs have since gone over the Rainbow Bridge. So I hope that this bag is not going to make you sad. I think I've seen some Instagram posts though, and you've been watching some dogs or babysitting, dog sitting or something. So I hope that this dog bag will still bring you the same joy that it's bringing me, because as you could see, Lynn also had made me one as well, which I was so excited about and not expecting. So anyway, congratulations to all of the winners. And again, I want to thank you guys for your patience and waiting for those gifts, for those prizes to be drawn and chosen and whatnot. So hopefully 2017, we've got a clean slate. And with that said, I do want to remind you that there is still one more contest going on, one more CAL going on in the thread, and that is the Random Hats of Kindness CAL. We're coming up on that inauguration day, and I think initially when that whole thing started, when I had talked about the Random Hats of Kindness CAL, I had just, it was sort of my reaction to everybody's reaction, or many people's reaction to the election results when we were talking about that back in November. And one of the things I think that I was amazed by, as I said, was the fact that people were really just encouraged to be very kind to one another for whatever reason. That seemed to be sort of an outgrowth of people's feelings about the election. So I had suggested, I said, hey, why don't you do a random hat instead of a random act knit up a random hat of kindness and gift it to somebody, whether it's for a holiday gift or just an anything gift or just something to surprise somebody and make them smile and make their day. That was how that KAL got started. And I think initially I had actually said I was going to draw the prizes on Inauguration Day in honor of how the whole thing started. But I think I might leave that thread open. I'm kind of thinking maybe of Valentine's Day as a stopping point for that because it's cold. People still need hats. So keep knitting them and keep posting them and keep putting them in the thread. I've seen actually some great hat patterns in there that I've already now plopped in my Ravelry library because of some of the hats that I've seen people make for this KAL. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that open until Valentine's Day, you guys. So take advantage of that. I probably should even post a little bit more about that on Instagram just to remind people that it's there because I know a lot of people are making hats right now because it's the time of year to do so. So that is it for all of the announcements, news, all that good stuff. I am going to pause for a minute though myself. I decided with this episode I'm going to, just because of my voice, so in between I can go make some tea or whatever I need to do. I'm going to kind of film this one in segments. So I'm going to pause, take a break, and then when I get back, I'm going to tell you guys about some of my dreams and schemes in 17. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back and I am ready to talk to you guys about this new year and how much I've been thinking about sort of some plans and whatnot for 2017. I've always enjoyed, as I've watched podcasts over the last couple years, I always liked how a lot of people kind of take the new year as an opportunity to set some goals for themselves. And everybody does it differently, which is fascinating. And one of the things that I spent some time thinking about while I've been sick is, well, what are my goals going to be for 2017? For this podcast, for my crafting, for life in general. And I kind of realized that for myself, setting goals is a bit daunting because I am, I've said this before, but I'm a little bit fickle. I see something shiny run by, I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to forget about the goal that I had been focusing on before. So for me, I'm not so sure the term goals is going to work because to me, if you're setting a goal, it's something that you absolutely 100% expect yourself, hopefully, to finish or to follow through with in some way, shape, or form. So I started kind of looking into some other, ways that I could kind of plan for this. And I settled upon two words that I loved. One of them being the word dream and the other being the word scheme. And I went so far, again, being a language arts supervisor, obviously, and somebody that likes to write and that loves words. I'm always interested in the meanings, specific meanings of words. So I actually went ahead and, we all know what it means to dream. We all know what it means to scheme, but I wanted to see what the exact definitions were. So when I looked up the word dream, I found to contemplate the possibility of doing something, which, oh my God, that's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to allow myself in 2017 to sort of dream of possibilities, things that I would love to do, but I don't want to hold myself accountable in a way that I'm going to be tremendously disappointed if one or some or any of these things, perhaps they might fall through. So I liked that. But then I kind of felt like dreaming wasn't enough, like that there had to be something to go along with that. So that was where the word scheme came in. And a scheme is, word for word from the dictionary, a large-scale systematic plan for putting a particular idea into effect. I was like, this is perfect. The dream is the stuff that I hope to do, right? The scheme is the plan that I hope to kind of formulate to put in place to make that dream happen. So hence the term dream and scheme in 17. Okay, throw in some internal rhyme and you've got me. You had me at dream. So that is kind of what I've been spending some time thinking about. And one of the things I wanted to do in January was I've been pretty decent with using my bullet journal. I use it for work. I've showed you guys before. I use it for plans for the podcast and whatnot. Usually I post sort of that little sketch of my, really sketchy show notes on a day that I'm either podcasting just to let people know I'm actually doing something. But I did go ahead and I created a double page spread in my bullet journal for my dreams and schemes in 17. And it looks kind of like this. Can you see it? Hopefully you can see it. I basically just set up some big boxes so that I would be able to kind of brainstorm a list of the things I'm dreaming about doing, and then have some space in there so that I can jot notes for how am I going to execute that plan? What's the scheme that will lead to the dream? And that's what I wanted to just take a couple minutes to talk to you guys about, is just some things that I'm thinking about, things that I'm dreaming about this year in 2017. Number one, and I'm going to talk more specifically about this shortly, so I'm not going to go too much into detail now. I'm actually not going to go too much into detail with any of these things. I just flashed it up for you to see, and I just want to go through each one, and then I'll tell you how I'm going to try to hold myself a little bit more accountable for touching base with everybody and talking about these things throughout the year. So obviously, my first shawl design, that is a big one for me. That is a dream that I was almost thinking to myself, I know that I want that to be more than just a dream. I actually want that to happen this year. So that's one thing I want to start thinking about and planning for. I also have an idea that I'm going to talk more about in a moment, called the Mitten a Month Challenge, that basically it's sort of also known as, it's like a more fun way of describing strategic Christmas knitting. So I'll talk more about that. I'm actually going to get into that a little bit more in this episode as well, because I have something to show you guys. Another dream I have, I'm calling it sort of my sock experiment 2017, which is where by the end of this year, what I hope to have accomplished is coming up with the perfect sock knitting formula, or sock knitting sort of combination of things for a sock for me and for a sock for Jamie. I would imagine that I'm going to knit the most socks for myself and for him. So I would love it if by the end of this year, instead of always feeling like I'm starting from square one and trying to figure out exactly how many stitches, what kind of heel, what kind of toe, do I like toe up, do I like cuff down? I want to know what it is that I like best, so that if somebody were to just thrust a skein of sock yarn at me and shove some needles in my hands, I wouldn't need to go all over the place and figure out and hunt down a pattern to do so. So Sock Experiment 2017 is on, like Donkey Kong. That's another thing. Crochet is another one of my dreams for 2017. I definitely want to learn more about crochet. I may not learn everything there is to need to learn about crochet, and that's fine because I've got plenty of time to do that. But it's definitely a skill set of mine that I would like to expand. I also have a dream of knitting his and hers Rhinebeck / Christmas sweaters for Jamie and me for 2017. And sweaters don't work up that quickly. And if you want to make two of them, 2 adult sweaters, one best start thinking about that sooner rather than later. So that definitely made my list. And then last but not least, I touched upon this, I think, in my last podcast, but one of the things I was thinking about doing was experimenting with this idea of creating some more handmade wine glasses that perhaps I might be able to sell to support, just sort of postal fees and whatnot for the podcast. So, again, I'll show this to you guys. Right now, there's not much to look at, but it's just, sort of my list of dreams, and there's some blank space for me to take some notes for the scheming that goes along with the dreaming. So that's really what I wanted to kind of share with you guys about that. I'm excited though. I left for myself, not that I have to show you what blank pages look like, But on the next 2 pages in my bullet journal, I left 2 blank pages so that if I want to, I can set up 2 more pages just like the ones I showed you, because that might not be the only things that I end up dreaming about and scheming about in 2017. I want to find the right balance for myself. So I guess what I'm kind of saying is I don't want to overcommit myself by right now in January brainstorming this giant list of things I want to accomplish or I want to shoot for this year. But I also don't want to stifle new dreams that might come up because I've been inspired by another podcast or a friend or something else, another idea that comes down the pike. I don't want to say to myself, oh, well, that didn't make it on your list at the beginning of the year, so you can't focus on that this year. So I figured by giving myself that little bit of extra room, I'll be able to do that. What I think I'd like to do for you guys, and this is where you come into play, is maybe in each episode, I am not going to talk about everything that's on that list all the time, because more than likely by the in-between episodes, I won't have focused on all of those things. But I would like to maybe consider having a dreams and schemes segment so that I could maybe choose one of those things and just give you guys an update on how it's going. Even though I said that I don't want to scare myself into the commitment, I also would like to have the accountability to be able to talk to you guys about these things on the podcast. So that's how I'm going to handle that. And, kind of with that said, I wanted to, just like I mentioned to you, although I'm cheating this time, I'm actually going to talk about 2 of my dreams with you guys right now. One of them is the Mitten a Month Challenge. Now, when I call it the Mitten a Month Challenge, I'm challenging myself right now, but I'm going to tell you guys how you can get involved with this too in a moment. Let me give you the background about this. All right, so December kind of sucked, as I already mentioned. And in addition to it sucking because of everything going on with my foot and then, coming back and getting sick and all of that, it also was very stressful. Even my craft life was stressful. I would love to say that, again, I love knitting gifts for people. I absolutely 100% love it. I don't love knitting gifts for people under pressure. It makes me incredibly stressed. It turns me into what I think I've now decided I would call an angry knitter. Like, how the scene from Elf where, he says, oh, you're an angry elf. When it's December and I am down to the wire with my Christmas gift knitting, I am an angry knitter. Like, you don't even want to be around, you don't want to be around me when I have sharp pointy needles in my hands, because it's really not pretty. And that, obviously, putting that all together does not bring me any joy whatsoever. So I do not want a repeat of that in 2017. So I was trying to think, when I was sick and I was laying around, I had a lot of time to think. I was trying to think about, okay, how could I fix that problem? What could I do to prevent myself from running into that problem again at the end of this year when we get towards Christmas? And I thought to myself, well, what if you decided to kind of pace yourself and come up with a plan to do a little bit at a time so that by the time Christmas rolls around, you'll have several gifts already ready to go. And that's where the mitten idea came in, because out of all of the Christmas gifts, and again, I'm not going to go, part of me thought about recreating, bringing out pictures to show you guys all of the millions of things I gifted to people for Christmas, but it's over. It's done. Nobody wants to hear about that anymore. But what I will tell you is that one of the gifts that was the biggest hit were the mittens that I knit for a colleague of mine, for a friend of mine from work. And they were the Waiting for Winter mittens, which many of you I'm sure already know is a Susan B. Anderson pattern. It is a delightful, delightful, simple pattern. When you use the right yarn, even though the pattern is so simple, it looks absolutely stunning. The ones that I gifted to my colleague, I used Noro Curion, which actually was one of the yarn choices that Susan recommends in the pattern. And I also read, I think on her blog, she said something about that if you actually, that 2 balls of Neurocurion will actually yield 3 mittens. And it was kind of cute because what she was saying was that if you even gifted somebody 3 mittens, that, think about it, the way that Neuro works up, they're not going to be identical to one another. That's just not going to happen. But they'll obviously, all 3 of them would match together so that you might solve the problem for that person that perhaps might lose a mitten. They might actually have a backup mitten. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I thought that was a cute suggestion regardless. So anyway, so they were, like I said, they were a big hit. Everybody needs mittens. Everybody needs fingerless mitts. So I really think this is a good choice for me as a way to potentially pace myself to come up with some Christmas gift knits. Now, what I'm thinking is that my goal, and that hence the Mitten a Month challenge, my goal is going to be to knit 1 mitten a month. That would be great. If I knit more than 1 mitten a month, fabulous. I'll be ahead of schedule. But if I can stay at that pace amidst all of the other things I'm working on, by the time Christmas rolls around, I should have about 6 pairs of mittens to be able to gift to other people. So I actually think that that's pretty cool because even though I knit, I tend to knit a lot more than 6 things to give out as gifts, but they would be 6 things that I would not be stressing about knitting in December. So the way I see it, that's got to be better than what I experienced this last year. So I think that actually, even then, if I still had other Christmas gift knits to work on, I just wouldn't be as stressed about it because a good chunk of the knitting, the gift knitting, would already be done. The other thing that I'm thinking about, and the reason I like mittens as the idea for this project of mine, this kind of ongoing project of mine, is the fact that they're small projects, but they're small enough that I can also, each time I choose a different pattern, perhaps I could try to choose something that will either expose me to or allow me to teach myself a new technique or something different that I haven't tried before. Sometimes I feel that way about socks too, like trying a different stitch pattern or something like that, whatever it is. But I think that actually would work really, really well for this particular idea of mine. So that's what I'm going to do. I actually am already working on a mitten, and it is the Waiting for Winter mitten pattern once again, because I think it's actually one of those things that I'm kind of trying to just memorize for myself at this point because it's pretty simple. This actually, we have friends of ours that are huge Rutgers University fans. So I actually found, this was the Molly Girl yarn in her Rockstar base. Hang on one second. I honestly can't remember the name of the colorway, but it should be called Rutgers, I think, because it actually really, the blend of these colors together looks perfect for anybody who's a big Rutgers fan. It is Rosalita Come Out Tonight. I'll show you the card. Hang on one second. Of course, I have it all crumbled up, so that's not helping. But here we go. So it's Molly Girl yarn in her Rockstar base. There's 230 yards. I'm sorry, 320 yards? 230? Can't read that. 220 yards. Oh my gosh, I can't see in that little tiny thing. But Rosalita Come Out Tonight, that is this colorway. That's coming out really nice. What I like about it is it's not just red and black. Typically that's what all of the Rutgers University stuff is just red and black. But this has some of those flecks of the bear yarn, almost like blending into the red, so it kind of gives it like almost a pinkish appearance, but then also some gray. It just really looks great. And these mittens are just awesome. They're really, I'm at the point now where I can even kind of put this on and show you. I've got all kinds of craziness going on with needles there, but you can see I'm, well on my way. So it's January and I am cruising right along with this. And this would definitely be great. If the tricky thing is that the person that I want to gift this to, I'm going to have a hard time waiting until next year to gift it. But if that happens, it happens, whatever. I just wanted to show you, though, that I am well on my way. in starting out my Mitten a Month challenge. I'm starting out simple, and then I think next month I'm going to kind of shift gears and try, like I'm already brainstorming. A friend of mine is working on a fingerless mitt that has this really awesome like crossover thing going on, like going up the top of the hand. That is just so cool. And she was showing it to me when we were at Vogue Knitting Live this weekend, and kind of how it's constructed. So that was really neat. I also thought about doing some color work mittens. I am completely obsessed with any of like the Scandinavian mittens that you see. I would love to look into, oh gosh, who is it? Stitched in Sweden. I would love to look into some of Maria's patterns for some of her mittens. I think this could be a lot of fun. So I would love to extend an invitation to all of you. I don't know if this is an idea that would be of interest to anybody else. I know there are always lots of full year cals going on for socks, things like that. But again, and I think I've definitely seen some cals. I know Boston Jen has a Christmas knit along cal that goes on all year. But that's, you know, for any kind of Christmas gift knitting you might be doing. This is obviously going to be specific to mittens, or obviously fingerless mitts or gloves would be perfectly fine. Anything that covers the hand. So why don't you join me? I definitely am going to turn this into a cal. I don't think I'm going to do like we did with the jar along. I don't necessarily think there'll be a monthly prize, but what I was thinking is that I would draw for a prize every 2 months, because if you started now and you kind of jumped on this bandwagon, every 2 months you should have another Christmas gift done. So I thought that would be a good way to reward people that might be interested in participating in this knit along, would be to give out a prize, you know, in February, April, so on and so on. So that's the deal. That is a little bit more information on one of my dreams and schemes that I have going on for 2017. With that said, even though I'm still cloggy and foggy right now, I think I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to talk about the next dream/scheme that I wanted to kind of share some information with you guys about, because I'm really, really excited about this one. I am going to be starting to come up with my first shawl design. It's funny, I say first as if I think this is actually going to work out well and that there will be more of them. I guess you'll know. I guess if it doesn't work out well, maybe it will be my first and only shawl design. But it's definitely something that I've been toying with doing. And I wanted to kind of take you guys back a little to maybe, I don't know if it was the last episode or 2 episodes ago, when I talked about a really special surprise that Rhonda, who is the owner of my local yarn shop, did for me. And that was to kind of have a skein of yarn specifically dyed for me, not only to kind of celebrate how things, you know, have been going with the podcast, but also she really took the time to capture like things that I love so very much are now sort of wrapped up in one skein of yarn. So if you remember, that skein of yarn was this. It was FICKLE FINTER, and it was dyed by Savvy Skeins, who just, I mean, seriously, Rhonda gave a couple pictures, and this is the beauty that came out of this. So if you remember correctly, it was sort of a combination of the fall colors that you would find in the Adirondacks, because you all know that's a place that I love. And then there are sort of memories or hints of both of my Labrador retrievers, Clarence and Addie, are mixed up in here, where you can see the white and the black. So that's what this is all about. So that happened. And then I also, probably right around that time when I was thinking about doing something, I wanted to be able to do something really special with this skein of yarn. I had looked at so many patterns, and for whatever reason, I just kept coming back to this idea of that I feel like this skein of yarn was gifted to me to push me to do something beyond my comfort zone. that being designing a pattern to really be able to showcase this yarn. So what I also did right around that time was I knew I'd be going to Vogue Knitting Live, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I knew I'd be going to Vogue Knitting Live, and as soon as I was looking through the class offerings, I noticed that Susan B. Anderson was offering a class. I don't remember the exact title, but it was something about shawl shapes and design. And it was kind of described as what would be a perfect class for anybody who was interested in beginning to design their own shawl patterns. So I said, holy cow, between the yarn and between, this possibly being able to take this class, I think this could be it. I think I could totally be onto something. So I did. I signed up for Susan's class. I just took it actually on Friday, and it exceeded every single expectation that I had. Susan as a teacher was phenomenal. The way she taught the class was it's so funny. It was almost the way that I work with teachers in my real job in terms of how to best support the needs of the students in their classroom. She actually arranged it so that it was almost sort of like small group lessons within the context of the 3-hour class, which was amazing because not only, when you're teaching knitting, it's really important that people can actually see what you're doing. So teaching knitting to a group of 20-something people is a little bit daunting and challenging. But the way Susan worked it out, we actually were, she did some presentation of information, whole group, which was perfectly appropriate. But then she also, when we were ready to really see some of the tips and techniques that she wanted to show us, she broke us up into smaller groups, which was amazing. But overall, what she did with this class was she kind of gave us an overview of 10 sort of basic or, well-known shawl shapes, I guess she called it, that you would find, and kind of taught us how to come up with the formulas for each one. Not really how we come up with it, but they already, the formulas already exist, and she shared those with us. And all of this kind of between that and the tips and tricks that she gave during the class sort of worked together to give you the confidence to actually start thinking about and planning out a design for your own particular shawl pattern. One of the things that I did sort of as a result of this class, and I re-sketched it out. I sketched something out during the class, but I wanted to do it in a way that I could kind of illustrate it a little bit better for you to give you an idea of what I'm thinking of. One of the 10 shawl shapes that she showed us was one that was sort of like this, where you would actually have sort of a design that would begin at the center. So you're actually starting in the center here, and you're increasing so that this center panel gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So what's actually going to happen is for the sides of the shawl, you're going to work your way out from the center by picking up stitches around that sort of center, I don't want to call it a square, but that center panel. So that's sort of the general shawl design that I was intrigued by, because one of the things, as you can see, I've kind of color coded a little bit here for you, but there's a lot of orange color shading in there. I really want the predominant yarn for this shawl to be the FICKLE FINTER, the Savvy Skeins, that Rhonda had gifted me and kind of had worked to help come up with that colorway. But I also wanted there to be a way to bring in, I guess what I realized in looking at this sketch is that I wanted there to be a way to bring in a little bit more of the Clarence and Addie in that yarn into the overall pattern. So, what I thought I might be able to do was come up with a way to sort of stripe in, I'm not 100% sure yet how I'm going to do this, but to stripe in some sort of contrasting yarn. And, one of the being that I was at Vogue Knitting Live, there was no better place to be on the hunt for yarn. So I actually went through the marketplace with my skein of Savvy, and I was kind of trying to find something that would work with this. So what I ended up finding actually from a new to me dyer, Rosy Green Wool. So this is their Cheeky Merino Joy. Again, this is not the colors are not fabulous because I was really just looking for a black and for like an off-white to kind of, complement the variegated skein. But this was absolutely lovely yarn. I just want to make sure, I don't remember if I actually looked to see what the content was exactly. Hang on one second. This was actually, it's all 100% organic merino virgin wool. So it's soft, it's squishy. It's actually, I think it's going to be really nice to work with the other. But so here's the Savvy Skeins, and we have that, and then we have this. So I'm just kind of sandwiching them in the middle there just to be able to see that I've got now a little bit of contrast. So I think this should work. I'm pretty sure this should work. My next step as far as this whole process is concerned, let me show you my diagram again, is to be able to come up with like, what do I actually want to do in terms of stitch patterning and all that kind of thing, especially as we move out off of that center panel. So, I'm not giving away any secret sauce or anything like that, because I think, like I said, for me to be able to talk to you guys about this is going to hold me more accountable and be able to help me sort of articulate how this whole process is going as I'm giving this a try for the first time. So the next thing I'm planning on doing is actually spending some quality time. I've already leafed through this a little bit last night, but a long time ago, Jamie actually gave me this big book of knitting stitch patterns as a Christmas gift. And I'm going to be honest, I've hardly looked at it at all. I don't even really know, like when he gave it to me, it's funny, I don't really know why he gifted it to me. It was an interesting gift, but now it actually all of a sudden in this moment seems like it could be something that is really going to be particularly helpful. So, I will definitely keep you guys posted. This is something that I think, like I said, I want to give updates on my dreaming and scheming. I would imagine this is something you're hopefully going to hear some updates about because I think I'm going to learn a lot in this process. There's so much that I need to learn about writing a knitting pattern for myself. I haven't even thought about the possibility of needing to find a tech editor and test knitters and all those kinds of things. Right now, I'm just going to be in that sort of playful process of playing around with the pattern, and sort of the idea I have in my head, making that actually happen with yarn. And then also, I think something that I'm realizing is going to be important to me is that I'm going to need to find a good system for how do I take notes as I actually play around with this pattern and make it work so that I can eventually actually put that down into directions that somebody else can follow. So that's where I am with that shawl design piece. Again, I'm really excited about this. I think this could be something really fun. I'm hoping that it goes well, because if it's something that goes well, I could see it being something that I would actually like to try again. And who knows what can come of this. So that's what happens when you dream and scheme. So we shall see what happens. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is this whole idea of crochet. And I'm not going to talk too much about this because I don't really have a lot to say, but the one thing I wanted to jokingly show you guys is one of my favorite Christmas gifts that I received this year, and I received a lot of really good ones, but my brother actually gifted me this, which was the 52 weeks of dishcloths from the Knit Picks Kitchen Spectacular, or whatever it's called. And what I did not realize is that book is simply a compilation of all 52 of the free dishcloth patterns that Knit Picks gave out throughout the year 2016. So anyway, I guess I did not realize that I could be getting these free patterns myself all along. But the one thing that, kind of like I was saying about the mittens being something that you could use as an opportunity to learn new things, I am thinking the same thing about dishcloths. So as you can see, and I apologize, I'm going to warn you guys, this is a sort of dirty dishcloth, but it's dry, so I feel like I can still share it. I created this one. This was one of the ones that was in the book. Was it actually? It may not, no, I'm lying. I don't think this one was in the book. This one I found in a tutorial online, actually, but I already have earmarked and highlighted some of the ones I'd like to try in the book. I mentioned before that one of my other dreams and schemes is to learn more about crochet. And I actually think that even just learning to crochet some simple dishcloths could be a good way to kind of familiarize myself with crochet patterns and different crochet stitches and whatnot. So I think that that is definitely something that's going to be a benefit for me. The other thing that I, of course, want to show you guys is, and I know this is not going to come as a surprise because I am not the first person, nor will I be the last person to succumb to the madness. That is the Granny Stripes crochet blanket. I actually just wound up my second, what I'm calling them magic balls. I don't know. I like the term magic ball, but maybe there's something else. But using that sort of magic knot technique, which I'm actually going to put a link in my show notes to the YouTube video that I found to be most clear and helpful in helping me to learn how to actually do that and how to actually magic knot all of my minis together. I'll put that in the show notes for you guys, but I'm on my second one because I already, and I think some of you may have seen this already on Instagram, I already blew through my Advent minis that I received from Dariona because we were partners for the Advent mini swap in the Spicy Homemaker podcast. So as you can see, here we go. We're starting here. It just looks stunning. It's not, again, it's not very tall, but I think you will notice that what it lacks in height, it makes up for in width, because I decided, for whatever reason, that I wanted this bad boy to be very, very wide. In fact, what I did when I chained my initial chain, I kind of held it out over the queen-sized bed. We were up at the cabin at the time when I started it, and I held it out over the queen-size bed in our one of the guest bedrooms. And I decided that, I don't know, like, as crazy as it sounds, this thing is so beautiful that I don't want it to just be a blanket that's folded up. I actually want it to be something that covers a bed and that people can see all the time. I don't know, I'm torn about that because it's so soft and so squishy that I want to be able to use it like a blanket on the couch and whatnot, but I also just want to appreciate it for its beauty. So I think I'm going to keep going with this. That said, I actually chained 420 stitches to start this blanket. I had listened to a bunch of different people to kind of see how they started with theirs, and I kind of used that as a gauge, but then when I got to that number of stitches and I held it out on the bed, it didn't seem like it was going to be long enough, so I decided to keep going, and if it takes me forever, it takes me forever, but I definitely think that this is something that's going to be an awesome project for me to work on in between things, and just as good stress relief, particularly because that actually, everything that I just showed you, this pretty much was the only thing that I was working on while I had bronchitis. So, jokingly, I'm referring to this as the bronchitis blanket. That's pretty much, once I got those first couple setup rows done and figured out how to do that, it was autopilot after that point. So it really was the perfect project to work on if you're sick or not feeling well. So I'm excited about that. So the crochet adventures are definitely going to continue, especially now also that I can show you. One of them is missing because I have it in my bag with something that I'm working on. But Jamie actually got me these awesome crochet hooks, a complete set, not a complete set, but a pretty good set, which I really like. They're just clover. They weren't even that expensive. you know, he did really well. He got me this little case to put them in and everything. So I feel like I'm officially equipped now to continue with these sort of crochet pursuits that I have in mind. So I'm excited about that, and you know, definitely will keep you guys posted as we move on. So couple more things that I would like to do. I'm going to save some of my Vogue Knitting Live chatter for next time because I want to try to kind of wrap this up, you know, especially for those of you that are new. I do not want to wallop you your first time around with an episode that goes on for like an hour and a half. So anyway, I just wanted to mention a couple things about Vogue Knitting Live. I just got home last night. I was there Thursday night. I went in with my very good friend Juliet and a colleague of mine and one of my best knitting buddies. And we've actually done, I think that was maybe our third or fourth time doing Vogue Knitting Live together. And it is something that we absolutely look forward to every year. And I think more than anything for me, what I find different about Vogue Knitting Live than going to just a fiber festival or something like that actually is the experience of taking a class with somebody who is just absolutely phenomenal. I have taken classes with Laura Nelkin, Lucy Neatby, Nancy Marchand, what else? And obviously I talked about Susan B. Anderson before. The other class that I took this weekend was a class with Franklin Habit, who I adore him. I think he is delightful. I think he is entertaining and so knowledgeable. And the class that he taught actually was called Garter Stitch Gone Wild. And he spent a good amount of time in the beginning of the class talking about the fact that garter stitch has particularly been sort of the bane of his existence, and that one of the things he's always tried to do is to find a way to make it a little bit more interesting. So one of the things we learned was this idea of garter stitch jacquard, which is interesting. I'm going to show you the swatch. Don't be prepared to be particularly impressed because it was just a swatch that we were using to learn some different techniques. But this is, I just wanted to be able to illustrate. The lighting is probably not that great right now, and it's not helping that these are darker colors, but this up here, this section that you see up here, we had to come prepared with just a swatch, but really what I wanted you to see is what garter stitch jacquard is all about. In a nutshell, it's basically like, and I'll even show you what the floats look like on the back there. What we learned is how you actually can make garter stitch a little bit more interesting by using multiple colors and adding some different, I don't know, it just adds a totally different look to it. And it was a really fascinating technique. The only thing I found interesting that we talked a lot about was the fact that when you're doing garter stitch jacquard, your gauge changes quite a bit, because what you're actually doing is that for every one row, you're actually going back and forth on that row 2 times, if that makes any sense in the pattern. I'm not going to get too much into detail with you about that now because this doesn't really look like much, but what that does, if I'm feeling this as if you can feel what I'm feeling, but it totally changes sort of the feel of the fabric, and it also changes the gauge. If you look at that, can you see where when I started the jacquard, it starts to pull the fabric in a little bit? So that was actually something interesting that I learned, because one of the things immediately I thought about was, ooh, this is awesome. I wonder if I can incorporate a technique or something like this into my shawl design that I'm starting to think about doing. But I think I'm probably going to avoid that because I don't know enough about it that I'm worried that, again, just based on this experience alone, that it's going to be a little bit messy when it comes to changing sort of that gauge and whatnot. So, but it definitely, again, was something, but that's what I mean about Vogue Knitting Live. You get the opportunity to spend time with these people who know so much and are excellent instructors. Franklin Habit also was very good in terms of, sort of how he facilitated his class. He was very conscientious about getting to know, like, which of his students had already had experience with some color work and which did not. He did, for having 20 students in a class, I think he did a great job of trying to differentiate when necessary. So that was great. Vogue Knitting Live, again, I'm going to hold off until the next episode to show you some of sort of my shopping acquisitions, because that could take a while. But it just, again, I was not disappointed. Juliet and I stayed at the Marriott Marquis, which was where the event was held. And that was great because it was wonderful to be located. Just like we just had to leave our room and go to classes and go to lectures and go shop at the marketplace and then bring our stuff right back to the room. That was wonderful. So, very nice accommodations. We had some great food. We had amazing soup at Junior's Cheesecake almost right across the street from the Marriott Marquis. And then on, when was it? Saturday night. No, Friday night, actually, I'm sorry. Friday night, we had an amazing Cuban dinner at Havana Central. So I just, again, that was a nice way to kick off. One of the things I love about Vogue Knitting Live being in January is that it goes right along with this whole idea of mine of dreaming and scheming, because I feel like every single time I've gone to VKL, I leave inspired and I leave with a lot of ideas and new things that I've learned and things I want to try. So this time was no different. And, if you don't mind, I'm going to hold off and I'll talk a little bit more about that next time, because the last thing that I would like to do before I say goodbye for the evening is to talk to you guys about a little bit of a mail update. I have huge apologies to extend, and I don't even know if any of these people will actually watch the podcast, but somewhere in that month of December when Candy was MIA, I received some amazing packages, and I definitely have been really holding out and excited to kind of share them with you. So I'm going to kind of end with that now. So for those of you that aren't interested in seeing things that I've received in the mail, please feel free to go on your way, and thank you so much for spending some time with me. But for the rest of you, if you can stick it out for a little bit longer, I just have some really cool things that I would like to share with you. One of the things, actually two of them, have to do with something that was going on right around Thanksgiving and into like early December, which was that whole thing going on Instagram about getting your yarn wishes granted. I actually was able to grant 2 yarn wishes. I was able to grant a skein of Lynn Vine yarns to Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady podcast, and I also was able to grant a yarn wish to Rachel of the Hey Sister podcast. Rachel was looking to try a sock blank, and I had a Gales Art sock blank that I thought she might enjoy, so I sent that her way. So in exchange for my granting those wishes, I actually got 2 of my wishes granted as well. One of them actually had to do with Rachel from the Hey Sister podcast, because when I told her that I could hook her up, I guess she also noticed that one of the things that I was hoping to be able to try was a skein of Hey Sister yarn myself. So she actually sent me this absolutely beautiful, oh my goodness gracious, this is so gorgeous, a skein of their Hey Sister yarn. This is their fantastic sock base, and it is the Autumn Crush colorway, and which is really cool because I don't think Rachel knows that I love autumn as much as I do, so I am super excited. This color is not even coming out. It's starting to get dark here, so even though I have some lighting going on, I don't think you're going to see how beautiful this actually is, but it is stunning. It's like a sort of like a brown color, but with like hints of orange in it. It is just so, so pretty, and it's so soft. It has an absolutely beautiful halo on it as well. So I am really excited to try this. This is actually 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. So hence the beauty of it. So thank you so much, Rachel. The other thing that I'm not going to go run upstairs to get them, but the other thing that Rachel included was even these absolutely beautiful stitch markers. that I've never used anything like them before. They're these really intricate, really pretty ones. So she included that in my package as well. So thank you. And the last thing I want to say, if you ever order any yarn from Hey Sister, I don't know if this is something they do all the time, but when I opened the package, it smelled phenomenal. I don't know what, it actually still, the yarn even still smells really amazing. So whatever they do, I would highly recommend checking it out because this is beautiful yarn, and I know this will definitely not be the first skein of Hey Sister yarn that I purchase, and I don't even have a plan for this yet, but I know that I will be thinking of one soon. So thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate it, and I hope that we get to know each other a little bit better. The next yarn wish that I got granted came from another country, which was super duper exciting. I want to mention, some of you probably already know of Connie from the Chili Knits podcast. So she actually, Connie obviously lives in Chile, in Santiago, I believe. I think I'm right about that. But she was another one of the people that when I posted my wish, she responded right away. Like it was, what was really amazing to me is that both of my wishes were granted from the dyer herself, which I thought was really, really neat. So anyway, Connie actually sent me oh my God, this is just awesome. I told both of the ladies, by the way, they asked me if I had a specific request for a colorway, and I wanted to be surprised. I like to be surprised. So this is actually Connie's cupcake skein. This is in her soft sock, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon 2-ply. And she actually told me that what you can't see, well, maybe you can there. You can kind of see it's like a combination of the neutrals in this are awesome, of like an off-white and like a beige, but then with those pops of neon, it is just amazing. I think these are going to have to be socks because I would love to have these on my feet. So I'm really, really excited about that. So thank you so much, Connie. I really appreciate it. When I was communicating with Connie, though, I also told her that because when I started checking out her website, she had a project bag on her website that had to be mine. So I want to show you guys that too because I purchased this from Connie. Honestly, I purchased it thinking that I wanted to keep this as a possible gift for a knit-along or something. I'm on the fence about it, and I think Connie must have known that I was going to feel that way too because when she wrote me a little note, she even said, like, maybe you'll want to keep the bag for yourself. I don't know, but look at how adorable this bag is with the cocktails. I just thought it was so much fun. It's actually a really sizable bag too, which is neat. So you can kind of see here, it kind of buckets out at the bottom. You could this would be a really nice project bag for for a pretty significant shawl project. But look at even the inside. Look at the sort of the chevron turquoise and white that just matches that awesome cocktail pattern on the front. So I was super excited about that. The other thing too that she threw in that I thought was adorable, I've never seen this before. She has a little pin that she included that has sort of reminders, I think you can see that there, for how to set up and get started with the Kitchener stitch. So what a great idea. I was so excited when I got this package. I can't even tell you guys. So Connie, thank you so much. And to both Connie and Rachel, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry that it's taken me so long to, more publicly thank you for granting my yarn wishes, but I am so excited that you both did, and I will be sure to post pictures of whatever project gets on the needles with your yarn as soon as I get started with that. So thank you so much to the both of you. I had actually a couple more things that I wanted to mention. I also made a purchase because I knew that I wanted in the new year to start getting a little bit more organized with my knitting projects. And one of the things that I realized that I run into a problem with is not always having the right notions with me at the right time. I had seen the Sexy Knitter Etsy shop, and Sarah, who is the owner of the Sexy Knitter, she has these amazing little notions tins that look, they're this big, okay? They look like that. And I actually thought to myself, these would be amazing if I could have, I don't know, like if I could get 4 or 5 of these and keep them so that each time I start a new project, I could throw some notions that I actually need for that project, whether it be stitch markers, maybe a little scissor or something, and toss it into my project bag so that I don't have that problem where I'm all of a sudden needing something and I don't have it right next to me when I need it. What I really loved about this one, though, is it was so cute because it was actually that you can't tell, but the cover of this is sort of a paper kind of texture. So the whole idea of this is that I can actually color this to be whatever colors that I want those knit stitches to look like. So it was sort of like a color your own notions tin. I thought that was genius. The other thing is that if you look at the Sexy Knitter Etsy shop, she has tons of these in all different kinds of styles. They say all kinds of fun things. Sorry. I have it on my phone, actually. I pulled up a couple things like there was one I thought was funny that said, yes, this takes a long time, or yes, this took a long time. And then there was another one that said, no, it's not for you. There was one that said, knitting fills my days and my closets, drawers, living room. Just really funny, witty sayings. Some of them actually just have pictures on the top. So I thought this would actually be a really cute gift, even for, you know, another knitting friend, something like that. So I went ahead and I ordered 2 of these for myself. One because I wanted to have it for me, and then one because I wanted to hold on to it as a giveaway for you guys for a prize. But I was so surprised because when Sarah sent the package my way, she included even her card. I love this, peace, love, and glitter. So very sexy knitter. And she actually said in the card, she said, I hope you don't mind, but I've upgraded your giveaway tin to my standard option. So if you look on her website, when you order these tins, you can actually order them empty, just like I did, or you can order them with the standard option, which is that, Sarah, I opened this one up for you. I do not want to spill this everywhere, but look at all the stuff that is inside there. There's a tape measure, there's a gauge, there are stitch markers, there's a stitch counter, there's a cable needle, oh my God, there's so many different things in here. There's a little kind of like a threading needle. There's so much. Everything I can't think of anything that you might need for a project that's not already in here, locked up nicely in this little case. So I am going to hold on to this one for a future giveaway. But I didn't want to not show it to you now or talk to you about this now, because the other thing that Sarah actually put in her card is that she created a coupon code for you guys. And that is good for $5 off of a $20 or more purchase through the end of the month of January. So the coupon code for that is Paws4Stitches. I'm going to put that up here for you, all in caps with the number 4, Paws4Stitches. And again, that's good for $5 off of a $20 or more purchase through the month of January. I may take advantage of that myself because I think I am going to go ahead and purchase, like I said, a few more of these tins so that I have them in all of my project bags to get me started for the next few months, so I have what I need as I'm working on things. All right, you guys, I think that is it. I want to apologize. I know that, I'm pretty certain already that the title of this episode is going to be Dream and Scheme in 17. And I think you kind of get the sense that that's what this was mostly about. I actually had other knitting things to show you guys, but I decided I would hold off on that until next time. I just really wanted to touch base, say hello, reconnect with everybody, and kind of let you guys know what's been going on and what I have in the works for the start of this new year. So with that said, I want to say goodbye. And by the way, I can't believe I made it till the end without mentioning this, but but I am completely alone in the house right now because I went to Vogue Knitting Live with my friend Juliet. Jamie went up to the cabin with the dogs and his mom and his sister. They left Friday after work, and they're not coming home until tomorrow because they actually have off for Martin Luther King. I actually do not have off. I'm going to be working with teachers tomorrow for a professional development day. So it doesn't happen often that I am home in this house completely by myself. So I want to end by saying thank you guys for giving me something to keep my mind off the fact that I'm lonely and sad and missing my husband and the dogs. But it was great to finally reconnect with everybody and spend some time together. And I promise you guys, I hope to be true to my plan, which is to stick to my every other week podcast, kind of get back on track with that again, starting now. So again, thank you guys so much. And I just wanted to say that I hope that you will all take some time to pause for those stitches over these next couple weeks. And it was great reconnecting with you all. I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.